All right, it's 1:30. We'll go ahead and get started. I believe Senator Innes will be joining us very shortly. Calling to order the meeting of the Subcommittee on Housing. Let's start with, let's do it in order, SB 90. Page 2. This is the one that allows residential development on land zoned for commercial use. The home builders, general contractors, housing action all supported the amended version of the bill, or the proposed amendment. Municipal Association in the town of Newington spoke against the bill. I'd be interested in your comments. Senator Reardon. Good afternoon.
Appreciated the public hearing on this one, which I think the most valuable piece of
Just
was
have Senate Bill 90.
recognizing that the way has changed from everybody owning a car and wanting to drive 20 minutes to their work, that it is more efficient to build commercial and residential in the same district, with the exception of, and it's an issue that's arisen here in Concord, making sure industrial is excluded from what we're trying.
That was the purpose of the amendment that was brought forward. I'm just reading through the objections to make sure that the amendment addressed them, or deciding how much weight to give them. Senator Innes, do you have any feelings on Senate Bill 90?
Give me a moment.
Yes, I know.
I always have to. So the drive over was slow. Every truck on 4 was going 45.
No, I understand.
And rightfully so. Pretty nasty out there.
The gentleman who testified for the town of Newington.
Yes, I remember their testimony.
To me, that's exactly why we need the bill.
Yeah.
And I realize that I'm speaking as the prime sponsor, so I have a vested interest in seeing the bill pass. It's not as if I'm sort of approaching this from an impartial point of view. But here we have the manager of the town of Newington who tells us, well, we designed our town so that everybody basically has to drive to work
Yes.
and drive to shop.
Yeah. Live, work, play, maybe. Sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a small community, and I guess it's not that far apart for them, but, you know, they've made it illegal to live near where you work.
Yeah. Well, they are separated two sides by Route 16.
His vision is that you would never put housing next to a mall.
That's
And-
right.
And my vision is exactly the opposite. That's exactly what we want.
The commercial sector certainly has plenty of malls that are struggling that could use.
Concord is redeveloping theirs as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen that over by Home Depot and all that. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, no, I think that's it. You know, he did effectively say, look, we don't want housing over by the mall, but that mall on the path it's on might be good housing at some point soon. And I would hope the communities could be a little more open-minded about it, but they still don't have to do it. I mean, yeah. But I'm supportive.
Okay.
As it is. And the amendment, fine.
Okay.
Yeah. My
All right.
brain's turned on.
Is there a motion to recommend passage?
So moved.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. And just to be clear, that's with the amendment.
Okay.
We did-
Yep.
All right. Senate Bill 163, Senator Pearl's bill recommending moratorium on limitations of building permits. The home builders and the realtors testified in support.
Yep.
The Municipal Association opposed.
Yep.
This was the ideal hearing. It was like 6 minutes.
And I'm supportive of this.
I have to say I am as well. I find it horrifying, the idea that a community would just simply refuse to issue building permits.
Right. Yeah. We're just not going to let you build anything. Sorry.
That's just going to make it. Imagine if people in the 1800s decided that they loved their community the way it was then, and no one can ever move to their community again.
Yeah.
Apparently those people are still living.
Some of them may be.
Um, we've got a great state and people want to live here and we need to make some accommodation.
Yep. No, I'm very supportive. I would make a motion that we pass this.
Okay, and I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Senate Bill 174.
Yes.
Now, of the bills that I submitted this term, I thought this was the one that might be a bit of a reach because we're telling planning boards what they can and can't say. I mean, way. I mean, but having said that, we certainly put guardrails on planning boards and zoning boards and town councils as a matter of course.
Yep. And let me just say, you know, the practice of saying, well, you can't have 3 or 4 bedrooms or whatever it may be, to me feels almost discriminatory. You're saying we don't want families and children. And, you know, while it's not a refusal to rent, you're setting up a structure that makes it impossible to rent. And I just don't think that's appropriate personally. I mean, you can always find some sort of restriction to put in place that might freeze out a certain population, and that is not what we are as a state.
It's legally banned discrimination. And additionally, I fully respect the number of bedrooms is one of the only measurable criteria to decide how big a septic system has to have or what the
Yeah.
capacity of a municipality is. But a planning board can take that into
That's correct.
consideration when they're looking at the site development here.
Mhm.
The only other thing I want to point out is you can say that you can only have 2 bedrooms, but as we discussed in the committee, there is nothing that prevents a family from getting 4
That's right.
in 1 bedroom.
That's right. And you know, the home builders made an excellent point. And just speaking sort of in a broader sense and not just about this bill for a moment, if I may. They said, well, we just, sometimes we do an office or a den and we don't put a closet in it, knowing that it's going to be used as a bedroom. And so, you know, you've got planning boards that are using the zoning process to steer developers one way, and they sort of, they play a game, right? We're going to use frontage and setbacks and everything else to force you to have big lots or to force you to do what we want you to do. And then the builders respond with their own set of games,
And the realtors respond saying it doesn't have a closet, so you can't say it's bedroom.
right? But
You can use it as a
I remember buying houses and they would walk through and say, well, you know, and then everyone's playing the game, right? And this is just kind of allowing more transparency in a way. So,
Okay.
Is there a motion on 175?
I will move on to pass.
Yeah. Second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we recommend 174 ought to pass. 175, Senate Bill 175, that was my effort in an olive branch, and I basically offered to empower municipalities to enforce covenants, which is something they don't currently have. And we heard from the Municipal Association, they don't really want that power. So I would be fine to either retain the bill to use as a future vehicle or more likely just move ITL.
I like it.
I appreciate your support of my idea.
I really like it. Senator?
My experience with covenants is that they're not necessarily used for the greater good, there's usually petty use of a covenant, and the fact that a municipality would join in that,
Yeah.
I guess I'm not crazy about.
I've endorsed covenants in the past. They certainly have been used for malintent and discrimination over the centuries, which is why so many have been struck down. But I've supported them in the past for the simple reason that I believe they're more ethical. They're entered into voluntarily by a willing buyer. And once they're there, unless an expiration date is attached. They're permanently part of the property. And zoning is not entered into voluntarily. You're at the will of the majority, which is sometimes wrong. Hence the need for all this legislation.
Yeah.
And secondly, they can change. You know, one of our colleagues yesterday in a conversation said, you know, I buy my house and where I buy it because I like having what's around it.
Yeah.
but it's never guaranteed. And as much as you want it to stay that way, things can change now, are going to change eventually. And zoning is rather arbitrary. I say that as somebody who has been a planner. They put thought into it, they put a master plan together, but even they can spend 10 years on a master plan and have it spelled out to the letter, and someone comes in and says, I'm going to drop a $200 million development right here if you let me. And that zoning will change.
Yeah,
That's.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah.
it's true.
On the flip side of that, I worry about progressive ideas like ADUs coming through, which I think is a really thoughtful use of a lot of big
Yeah.
properties in a neighborhood that's up behind the State House here, and that covenants on a land, a subdivision, a group, would prevent any of those kinds of things from happening.
They already do. They already do in some communities. The most vocal communities in support of existing zoning practices are often ones that have very thick deed covenants
Bylaws and covenants, yeah.
that dictate things like subdivision. So ironically, a lot of these things are already protected.
And the color of your house, right?
Yes.
Right.
You know, I'd like to move it forward. Can always bring it to the floor and see what happens. You're not a fan?
I'm trying to envision, and I can't come up with every hypothetical, what municipality would find in private covenants.
Well-
Do you have a thought of?
Well, that was one thought I had, was that municipal association was saying we don't want this. My answer in my head was, well, nothing forces you to take it.
They don't like it.
Oh, Mr. Shea is right here.
Would
Thank you for not using the middle finger.
Could
Woody.
we maybe ask him to join us at the mic
Of
for
course,
just a second?
Mr. Shea.
All right.
That's the bill we're 175.
175, the covenants.
Yeah.
Covenants.
Could you kind of walk through again the municipal association's position on this?
I think as specific to the private covenants, there might be an expectation by property owners, especially in HOAs or condo associations, that if municipalities could step in and start enforcing these private covenants that they would want municipalities to, and the municipalities don't have to be enforcing private agreements, especially if those private agreements could be discriminatory. That would lead to lawsuits. So I think by providing that specific governmental power to political subdivisions, you're kind of opening up a door to set up an expectation for the residents of those political subdivisions, especially if they live in neighborhoods with private covenants, to step in and to take on a role that really is for those private HOAs, those private homeowners associations, to be trying to deal with through their own bylaws and their association rules and regulations, and ultimately if they need to go to court that way. The municipality doesn't really have much of an interest in enforcing private contracts.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, am I dismissed?
Nothing
you.
from me. Thank you.
So you want to re-refer,
We can re-refer it.
and then we could come back to it in the fall?
Yep. I mean, I'm happy with either a re-refer or an ITL, but I have no
don't
interest in
wanna-
pushing power to the municipal association that they do not desire to have.
Well, that makes sense, and yet, heard from a couple folks who really like this bill.
Oh,
If we could re-refer it, and then, we could look at an amendment or something that might make it a little more palatable to the cities and towns and to the association. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor that we recommend re-refer on 175? Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Let's move to the next sheet. Senate Bill 165. From Senator Abard, audit requirements for consumer cooperative associations.
Oh, my bill.
165. Is it yours?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep. Resident-owned communities, manufactured housing communities that the residents have bought the underlying land.
Senator Reardon,
Yes.
I'm happy to take up that bill right now, but I had said 165, but your bill is 166. We can go to 166.
Let's do
You're
it.
already.
Yeah, let's go.
I can
166.
We'll come back.
166. Thank you very much. Resident-owned communities are a thing. They represent 9,000 households in the state of New Hampshire now. Their audit report, so nonprofits trying not to spend any extra money and therefore not increasing lot rents for people with manufactured homes in here, a naturally occurring form of a really affordable housing for a huge amount of the population. 7% of the housing in New Hampshire is manufactured housing.
And it's going up, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's the affordable
Right,
housing.
right.
And the models are much better than they used to.
Yeah.
So the audit requirement of needing a full audit costing almost $10,000 hasn't been changed in 25 years. So even very small communities, because the lot rents have gone up, are over the lot requirement right now. The amount that it's recommended that it goes to is the same amount for every other nonprofit. These are nonprofit, not-for-profit cooperatives here.
Okay.
Senator Reardon, you sold me.
Yeah.
I'll move that we recommend all to pass on Senate Bill 166.
All right.
Thank you for taking it out of order. I got so excited about
Is
explaining.
there a second to my motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Now we'll go to 165,
Senator Avard's bill.
Senator Abart's bill. Audit requirements for consumer cooperative associations. Remarkably similar.
Yep. Going from 100,000 to 1 million, 250,000 to 2 million.
Yeah, so Senator Reardon, what's your thoughts on this?
Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, I did know that they were duplicates here, and I didn't think this was a duplicate. I would ask to reconsider my bill, and we'll make that one, we'll ITL that one or save it as a vehicle and use his because mine had a typo in the amount.
Oh,
So we'll use Abart's.
okay.
So
It
without,
should have been 1 million and 2 million, and mine, I think, says 500.
so Senator Reardon, without me reading the bills line by line, word for word, are you confident that this bill will get the job done for you?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
yes.
I will take that. So Senator Reardon is moving that we do not recommend, that we recommend ITL on 166.
Okay.
And instead recommend all to pass on 165.
All right. So we need to reconsider 166.
All right. Move that we reconsider the vote on 166.
Yes, so moved.
Okay.
And I'll move ITL.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And then 165, I'll move out to pass.
Second.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Recommend all to pass on 165.
All right. Now 167.
167. Consumer Cooperative Association's annual audit requirements.
Oh, wait.
Senator Reardon, we
Oh,
have
would
you
numerous
like to-
bills.
Yes, Adam?
One, so
Sure.
let's reconsider again. One is the notice that the, and you're 166. We want 166 and we want,
Oh, no.
and 165.
Right. Move we reconsider the ITL recommendation on 166.
Me.
All right. I'm in favor of that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, recommend all to pass on 166.
Second,
Okay.
Aye.
Wow.
And what are we doing with 165?
165, we recommended all to pass.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
And Senator Reardon is suggesting that we recommend all to pass on 167 for all the reasons he
Nope.
previously
No.
on
explained.
166,
Yes.
I'm
pass.
recommending ought to pass.
Yeah.
Not because it's a great bill with the audit requirements, it's a great bill because it requires certain notice be provided when
Wait.
a unit's being sold.
That's 167. The audit requirement.
166.
166 is the notice.
Yes.
Notice required. So because these are volunteer-run communities,
Mm-hmm.
realtors are trying to sell units that are owned by individual people in it. It's impossible for them to get the books of the
Oh, I see.
the
Okay.
cooperative.
Okay.
And this is going to require them
All right.
to
Fair
to
enough.
do that.
All right.
That is
that works.
166, final answer.
You're sure?
So,
66.
so
Okay.
we have moved, there's
Good
been a
bill.
motion to recommend all to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor on 166? Recommend all to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I believe Senator Reardon on 167, your request was your motion was to ITL.
Absolutely correct.
All right, I'll second the recommendation. Motion that we recommend ITL 167.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are you with us? Okay, I threw a lot of curveballs at you.
We did.
All right, let's skip 170 because I want to come back to that in a minute.
Uh-oh.
173.
Mm-hmm.
170 and 173 are basically very similar bills.
Oh,
Senator Perkins Coker had asked the committee to adopt 173 instead, or recommend to pass on 173. She said it was the slightly better version.
okay.
Was there any thoughts on 173? Essentially, this bill clarifies some ambiguity in the current statute, and will have each community treat these housing credit program applications the same, as opposed to doing two different methods.
Yep.
There was no one testified in opposition to the bill, and we heard from numerous people, associations testified in favor.
Yep. We got to pass.
Second.
All in favor, recommend all pass on 173.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, two more from here. 282. Stairway requirements in certain residential buildings. Senator Ennis, you weren't here for the hearing for this.
I was not.
This would have New Hampshire join a number of states that allow builders to use one stairway in buildings up to 6 stories as long as certain conditions are met.
Mm-hmm.
And conditions are things such as sprinklers,
Yep.
maximum distance from unit to stairway exits, limiting electrical receptacles in exit stairways and such. And the bill was drafted with the assistance of the fire marshal. We did have an amendment to correct a drafting error. The opposition came from the Building Officials Association, from the Municipal Association. The state fire marshal was neutral, given the amendment.
Okay. Well, the Municipal Association is here. Brody.
Mr. Deshay, would you like to weigh in on this one, or do you want to? This is Senate Bill 282.
Stairways, central stairway instead of permanent of egress.
Testimony said there might be a significant cost involved, so on and so forth. Let's see if I can find it.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the subcommittee. I believe you guys mentioned, though, that you had significantly amended this and that the state fire marshal was okay with the new language, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't know if we've changed our position yet, because I don't know if we've internally reviewed the amendment, so I won't. Our concern really was all the reasons that the state fire marshal
Okay.
brought up. And if the amendment addresses all those things, which the state fire marshal told me in the hallway after the hearing that he believed it did, then our concerns are mostly quelled. I can't say that we are supportive or neutral. We might still be opposed, but we are probably
happier.
significantly less opposed. But I can make sure that because the amended language still hasn't been public, at least it's not on our database yet. So once that amended language becomes public, then we can review it and possibly change our position if it's addressed, all the fire marshal's concerns. So
Thank you.
Well, looking at the amendment, I think it does.
The bill was initially drafted allowed 10,000 square feet per floor on the first 4 floors, and the amended version takes it to 4, which was what the fire marshal had asked for. And it does limit everything to sprinkler systems, and any buildings that are sprinkled are.
Yep.
I think that was our key concern. You brought that up, that's what your amendment did during the hearing. And I believe it was Senator Ricciardi wanted us to speak, and we had not intended to speak because we understood there was an amendment.
All right,
So
I agree
Very
with the
good.
recollection.
4,000 square feet is pretty good.
I
10's
did-
big.
I did some research on this,
Yeah.
and some countries allow, the United States generally the highest is 6, but some countries, and I mean Australia, France, New Zealand, they'll let you go to 20 stories.
With a single
As high
stairwell.
as 20 stories with a single stairway.
Must be a broad one.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
it's, stairways are expensive and they take
Yeah.
rentable space out of the building, and,
Right.
this is a way to lower the cost of building units. So,
Well, to make a motion about to pass?
with the amendment,
Yes, as amended.
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Recommend a vote to pass with amendment on Senate Bill 282.
Yes.
284. There's a similar bill to this one coming out of the Dominion House, I believe. This deals with parking spaces.
Oh, yes.
So besides obviously myself, we heard from Housing Action Institute for Justice in favor, and Mr. Shea from from the Association testified against. What this bill does,
It's,
in essence, is return the freedom to builders, developers, landlords, etc., to meet the market demand. So if someone's building a home in a community, a bedroom community, they're building a house, they're going to have a driveway there. They're going to provide parking, because who would buy a house in a suburban community without a driveway? It's not like you have to force developers to do it with us. You don't have to beat them about the stick with it. They'll do it. It's really an issue for cities and reusing existing structures. So in fact, Mr. Shea and I had a spirited conversation about this topic during the hearing.
so I missed that.
You missed a good show that
I
day.
guess I did.
Yeah. Senator Reardon, did you have any thought?
I agree, and I'll revisit the conversation that we had at the beginning about how few people rely on their automobiles nowadays compared to probably when this provision was enacted initially.
Yeah, I have a number of employees that do not drive.
Really?
They take Uber and Lyft, or they walk to work
Yeah.
in Manchester. Even in Bedford, I have several people that ride bikes or take Ubers and Lyfts.
Okay.
And I'm only one person, and that's an anecdotal example, but I
When you consider the total cost of car ownership, it's probably not bad math.
no, I'm thinking ahead here. I think a lot of people are going to be doing this within a generation.
Yeah.
Where do the cars drive themselves? It's going to be very, very inexpensive. Anyway,
And for a state without robust public transportation.
Yeah, we have terrible public transport.
It's remarkable, but, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm in favor of this
okay.
Second.
one. Okay. So that's
All
a
right.
to pass motion.
All in favor that we recommend all to pass in 284. Say
Aye.
Okay.
Now, you want to go back to 170?
170. Now this was the one that Senator Perkins Cook basically said, do we refer or to kill or to use as another vehicle?
Okay.
And I do have an amendment. I just got the amendment from LS yesterday, and I had some issues with it. So I would prefer not to get into great detail on it, because there's no point discussing an amendment that, in my opinion, isn't ready as of right this second.
Okay.
But I will be walking in with an amendment for the hearing to correct it. If there's any aspects of the bill or other amendment that you've seen that you want to discuss, we can certainly do that at this point.
Sure. I have reviewed it.
Understanding that this is not the perfect language that I wanted it to be. OLS was moving a bit slowly.
They were.
In section 1, Roman numeral 3, it's the discussion about how long should a dead end street or road
yes.
be. And I know that the concern about the length of the road is if a tree falls across the beginning of the road, how long is the hose that the fire department owns to get to the last house on the street? And I was wondering if we could reach out to Chief Toomey and just have him
That's an excellent point.
weigh in.
Yeah, because this is a half mile we're talking about. And that's a long way for a hose to travel with pressure.
All right, I will have my office
If
reach
they own
out
that much
to
hose.
Mr.
Right.
Toomey.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Let me explain to you, you where this list of things came from. I attended several housing roundtables throughout the state, and this was after the filing period had passed, and just heard a list of horror stories from people who that had land, wanted to build, were stopped from building from some obscure regulation.
Yeah.
In this case, this is a gentleman who owned 40 acres. He's actually a constituent. Not that it matters. He owned 40 acres in Hooksett, and his land is, he's got road frontage on the end of a cul-de-sac. But 40 acres going back, and he wanted to extend the road and do a loop. And he was told that the ordinance in Hooksett is no, this road's a dead end road now, and you can't lengthen it, you can't do your loop road, and you could put one house on this 40 acres.
Okay.
And that certainly is against any sort of expansionist housing policy, right? He wanted to build acre lots, and now he can't. And it's against property rights, right? And the notion that this is your land and you can build with it as you please, and my belief, and hence the wording of that language, was that the issue was that trucks need to be able to turn around at the end of the dead end or the cul-de-sac. That's the first time I've heard the hose reason. So I can't say it's wrong.
Yeah, Mandevilla Lane, right out here off of Clinton Street, which is Route 13, is the length that it is for exactly that reason. That's what the opinion was here. So I'll bring up one other thing. It applies to Class 6 roads, and that we don't want to have developers in a position where they put in a house that is uninsurable because of that reason. So I think it's important to just find out who's making these decisions for why, so that an insurance company doesn't decide after the subdivision is done that they're uninsurable.
There is a bill dealing with Class 6 roads, but that's not on this amendment.
Yeah, but
On
so
170.
this is the same uninsurable
Same
reason
concept.
that I'm thinking that banks won't finance it, and if a insurance company won't insure it.
But if banks won't finance it, then doesn't that by itself serve as a deterrent to building the house?
So a bank will take a risk that's insurable. And if an insurance company says the fire truck could never get there if a tree fell across the road, they'll decline to insure it. So
So the house never gets built.
house never gets built. Or if
Then why do they need us to prohibit it?
if a developer is building houses
Yeah.
with their own financing, then they don't get there until they try to sell the house.
All right, well, that's a question, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, we could say that again, we're discussing a different piece of legislation at this point, but we could say the insurance company, the builder must provide proof of insurance.
Yeah.
Some sort of commitment from an insurance company to insure the product when it's finished.
That's not bad.
So I love that these came from a roundtable, because I think the facts of what a developer encounters is the most valuable information that we can have in deciding these. So I'll move on to the next Roman numeral
Oh,
here.
yes.
Why would a city or town cap the number of housing lots on dead-end roads or streets? I mean, it's either developable land or not. Was there any more detail about,
On that particular example, I do not recall. There's no one from the builders here. Mr. Schmidt, you have no idea? I'm this was in early January that I went to this round table. And this particular one, where this one came up at St. Anselm. I'm trying to remember the story I think it was traffic. I think it was concern over having too many cars share the street. But the number of cars, if a dead end street is a half mile long and it has 40 houses or 50 houses, is it,
if it's built to
The
city
difference.
standards or town standards, it shouldn't make any difference.
right.
If you wait at the corner. to
But
turn.
what's become clear to me is that communities and zoning boards and planning boards have developed this lengthy list of regulations that's intended to discourage growth.
Right.
I'll give you another example. I mean, we all know we have a bill dealing with zoning and with lot sizes. There's a community that has setback and frontage requirements that if you apply them, there's no way you could do it with a lot smaller than 8.2 acres. So it's basically the same as having an 8-acre lot.
Erasing the building envelope completely by the
Yeah.
time they're done, yeah.
That's it. So we could abolish all lot minimums, and they would still have an 8.2 minimum, 8.2 acre lot minimum,
Their setbacks are,
because setbacks are massive, right? So you know, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. When you smack it over here, it's going to pop up over there. And so we have to sort of go after them all, I think. Senator, was there any other parts that drew your attention?
7. My next question.
I don't have the amendment in front of
Oh,
me,
sorry.
so
Cities, towns, and municipalities shall not mandate that occupants of housing units be related by blood or marriage.
yes.
So maybe just a comma there and a citation to the human rights statute that actually says.
That's a great
not
example.
Allowed.
That'll get Durham upset.
Well, I don't think most people know that some towns and cities actually require
They
people
don't
to be
know that.
related by blood or marriage.
So I agree that college towns have been famous for that, but now with housing really hard to acquire, I think there's a lot of situations where people who aren't related to each other are sharing.
That is very true.
Yep.
Every UNH grad who goes to Boston or New York has a roommate. It's the only way to do it.
If not more than one.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's getting similar here.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that drew your attention?
I just had one other question about 6, which said, cities, I know how this happens, and I think it just needs a little clarification. Cities, towns, and municipalities shall stamp and accept changes to plans as they're submitted after an initial review when requested by the city, town, or municipality, provided the developer has made the alterations. I think we just need to clarify there that the city or town asked for those changes and they were made. So
Okay.
they need to stamp it then. It's not that the developer willy-nilly made some changes because they wanted to move something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So just
too
some wordsmithing.
revisit every client I've ever had that's sworn on their way out of town offices too.
Yeah, we're just trying to get away from sort of the plans batting me back. Oh, now you want to change this. Oh, you did that? Okay, now change this.
Right.
And then you're back and forth, back and
Cha-ching,
forth, back and forth.
cha-ching,
Right.
cha-ching.
Every day is money. Okay,
That was my review of
thank you.
what's
I
happening.
think that there's just some excellent suggestions. All right, I believe we've tackled all of that. Senate Bill 170 was the one bill not truly addressed in this subcommittee hearing, and we will be taking that up with an amendment on Tuesday.
Yes, we will. It's the only bill we'll be hearing scheduled for 11 a.m.
I would assume we'll be executing it pretty quickly,
Right then.
given
Yep.
the calendar.
You will do it right after the hearing.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, aye. We're out.
All right.
thank you.
Well done, Mr. Chair. Senator Reardon.
This was the longest of them all.
Well, yeah.
35 minutes.
It's because Brody talked. That's why it was long. We'll blame everything on Brody from going here on in.
All right. See you.
Thank you. You also.